Under Jim Key.
Lake Village, Arkansas is a booming metropolis of 3,500 people. It is the town in which I graduated high school, and I can tell that you're impressed. Well, if that's not enough, Lake Village, Arkansas is the county seat, the capital of Chico County, and as such, we possessed the traffic light in the county. In the entire county, there was one traffic light. Now, in an area such as DFW, that's hard to fit inside my brain. I've been here long enough, but I can remember those days. Now, that traffic light set at the intersection of Highway 82 and Johnson Road. And depending on which way you were going, you could go 20 miles to the east and you would be in Mississippi. You could go about 60 miles or so south and you would be in Louisiana. And then if you turned and traversed the entire rest of the state, you would end up in Texas. A much longer journey, but one that has been worth it. From that intersection, you could go to the high school, to the football games. You could go into town where the few businesses that were there had their shops. But that intersection, I think, has become a bit of a metaphor for several different times in my life when I've been at various intersections, not geographical or location-based, but in my life and with certain people that I've intersected. And those intersections have literally changed the direction of my life's journey. Back when I was a kid, my dad was a preacher, and I wanted to be able to play the bass guitar in the church services, so I learned how, and the first time I participated, I just knew that my friends were going to be amazed and they would encourage me. I was about 14 years old at the time. I don't know if any of you remember being 14 years old, but 14-year-olds can be some of the meanest people on the planet. And so when I was expecting that encouragement, they literally tore me down and ridiculed me. Like, yeah, you weren't up there playing, you were just showing out trying to be the preacher's kid, look at me. And I was devastated. But that was an intersection in time at which an older gentleman in the church named Pete Rowe happened upon that conversation. And he wasn't one of these people who was known as a person of many words, but when he spoke, you could benefit by paying attention. So Pete came up to me and he said, young fella, you just keep doing what you're doing. One of these days you'll be able to womp up a ditty. I don't know what that means. But I can tell you in that moment, he gave me an encouragement, a reassurance, and a belief in myself, a permission to believe in myself, if you will. And that was a very, very significant intersection in my journey. Well, I went through high school, I went through college, I got a job out here in Dallas, and as the years went by, I changed jobs a couple times, and I joined Toastmasters in December of 1999. In the following fall, I got involved in the humorous speech contest, and I was fortunate enough to go through and win the district, but the reason I tell you that is at the division contest, I had a very significant intersection with a woman named Ginger Everett. I don't know how many of you know Ginger, but at the time, I don't remember which club she was in, but she wasn't in my club, she wasn't in my area, but she was there at that division contest. Following that contest, she came up to me and said, young man, you have what it takes to get to the World Championship of Public Speaking. And that had never even been on my radar before. But that very significant intersection changed how I thought about my potential and what I could work towards. Now, because of the visibility that came with being on the district stage, in the early part of 2001, someone, I don't remember who it was, invited me to attend another Toastmaster Club meeting. I had never been outside my club before. I had just been to my club and then to those other contests along the way, but I'd never been to another club's meeting. That club was TNT Toastmasters. I think at the time it was when you were in the Tony Roma's location. It was early 2001. But I remember being in that club, and I have to tell you, my club is an excellent club. But as many clubs do, there are ebbs and flows to our attentiveness to what we're supposed to be doing in our meetings. There were times when the grammarian report would completely ignore some obvious bad grammar or never point out some good grammar. There were times when the counter must have been asleep at the wheel because I could hear them, but apparently they could not. When I visited TNT Toastmasters, it was like walking into a different dynamic entirely. The Toastmaster that day, and I don't know if she remembers this or not, was Pauline Shirley. And I was very impressed. I knew she had been an international president, but I was impressed with how the meeting was run. Pauline was the epitome of a tough core of professionalism wrapped in an energy and an enthusiasm. And it was, and I thought, wow, I wish my club would run a little bit more like that when it comes to how we do the meetings. The grammarian that day, and I don't recall who it was, didn't miss anything. And the counter, oh my Lord. The counter was born to be an counter. Because you wouldn't even get the out of your mouth. At the time it was a buzzer in use. You wouldn't even get it out of your mouth before and when it came time to give the reports, the energy and the zeal with which he pointed out, you had one, and you had a double word, and you had that. I was just taken aback. Oh my God, if this happened at my club, everybody would quit. But my club could stand to do things a little more seriously, a little more professionally. Still with having fun and having energy, but we need to take it up a notch. So about 3 or 4 weeks later, I gave a speech in my club. And I told on you. I told them what I had seen. I told them how it felt. But moreover, I told them what I thought the probable outcome was. That members would be pushed to grow and to stretch and to learn a little more. That meeting was a very significant intersection for me because it created a moment when I could have an intersection with my club and encourage them. We may not want to do it the way they do it entirely, but we could stand to up our game quite a bit. Well, that was in the early part of 2001. I got involved in the International Speech Contest that year, and I had great success. I had won the district, and I had won the semifinal, which was then called a regional, and I was on my way to the International Speech Contest. The National Speakers Association convention that year was in Dallas, and since it was so convenient, I went. It was about a month or so before the Toastmasters International Convention. During that time, I had another intersection moment, again, with Pauline Shirley. And Pauline, I don't know if you remember this conversation or not, but between the sessions, I was moving from one educational session to another, and I crossed Pauline's path, and she asked if she could speak with me for a few minutes. And during that time, she told me of a previous world championship in which somebody who thought they had won took second place and reacted extremely poorly. Now, my parents raised me to be a good sport. And I thought I could handle just about anything, but having those additional words of reminder, regardless of how it turns out, be sure to comport yourself with dignity and grace and good sportsmanship. I, in that moment, did not plan on needing Pauline's advice. But as it turns out, those of you who know anything about my journey, that year I took second place. And when my name was called, all of those things that my parents had taught me, but also Pauline's words, came back to my mind. And so I made sure in that moment to comport myself with dignity and good sportsmanship. I didn't plan on needing that advice again. But I did in 2002 when the same thing happened. I took second place, and I remembered my parents' teaching, and I remembered Pauline's words, and I comported myself with dignity and sportsmanship. My point in all of this, by telling my examples, is to just put a reminder in front of you that this club collectively and you individually take part in various intersections in every aspect of your life, with people in this club, with people at your places of business and in your community. you never know how your drive towards excellence, your taking seriously what you hear about, will positively impact somebody. I know that I've had those number of very significant intersections in my life that have changed my journey. And while I wouldn't say that TNT has the right to change their website to reflect any other world champion than LaShonda Rundles, you did have a significant impact on me. For that, I'm delighted to be here to celebrate the 36th anniversary and to simply say thank you.